Hey there, Jimmy G here, back in the Lads Lounge, and I'm sitting here with Stephen Schayer on the telephone. You would know him from if you ever went to Vinyl Fetish. Probably saw him when you went there. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, you are living up out of state now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm living in Portland, Oregon, with all the radicals.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what did we see? Let's see here. So, tell us about your childhood and
Okay.
how
Well,
how it all began.
all the storied history. Well, I was born in North Hollywood, 65. I grew up in Encino. I have three brothers and one sister. But as specifically relates to punk rock, I guess Bobby and I are pretty much what I'm going to be talking about a lot. Yeah, so my mom was an actress, sort of well-known sort of Mexican character actress. She was in Chico the Man. She was in Planet of the Apes. She danced with Elvis in Blue Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
She was in Ghost. She turns into Freddy Krueger in one of the movies. She was in Mi Familia. Yeah, I remember as a kid, there was the prosthetics to turn her into a monkey from Planet of the Apes. It totally freaked me out.
Yeah.
And they had all the pictures of her, like, just her profile, and then how she become a monkey. It was
Like the
just
stages and that sort of thing.
exactly, yeah. It was just creepy as hell. But I wish I still had that. But yeah, and then my dad was a cop. Initially, like a vice cop. He arrested Lenny Bruce. He busted Don McLean of American Pie fame for pot. I think he used to go like they did stuff in Chinatown where they would bust up like bookies or
Probably the
people
gambling
that
rings and that sort
gambling
of thing.
rings downtown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty interesting. I know he had some interactions with the Manson family and uh, yeah, but never really talked about it. I never really got hear too much about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then my sister primarily, my sister Susie, would sort of took care of us. And so like on the weekends we would take the bus to Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
And this is sort of like 75, 76, and so she was kind of involved in like the glam rock stuff. So like she would come home and talk to us about the Runaways, and um, I
Wow.
know that she saw that she was in Up in Smoke, which my mother was also in.
Oh.
My mother got my brother John and
So
Sue.
like that concert scene.
Yeah, at the Starwood
The
or the
Roxy.
Roxy,
It's the Roxy.
the Roxy, yeah.
Yeah.
And she saw the Germs there, and
Uh-huh.
and she, yeah, so there, and I actually could see her in some of the pictures.
Oh
So
wow.
we would like, that was I think for Bobby and me, like, who were already into music at that point. Like Bobby had gotten a drum set, and I had a guitar, like sort of a knockoff Les Paul
Uh-huh.
and Fender Champ.
Sure.
This little
Sure.
amp, yeah.
Yeah.
We would just like, I don't know, like I guess at some point Bobby ended up getting a Sex Pistols record, and I got a Germs record because I just completely infatuated with the Germs, and then Bobby got like a Gang of Four EP, and then he was extremely into the Ramones, and so we would just play those songs,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
then yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
primarily that's
I remember
I
learning
just
Black Flag songs,
yeah,
and
that's another
stuff
one,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. That was as my the way I remember my youth. It's just Bobby and I had the same bedroom, so he would just set up his drums, I would set up the guitar, and we would just play. And I can't believe our parents. Then later on when we had bands, we would rehearse there, and my parents just put up with it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Parents. Yeah. I mean, parents were a different breed back then too. You know.
Yeah.
So. Your sister's listening to all this sort of, I guess it's glam. I guess it's it's sort of that
It's
or post punk hippie, or
it's like
like
like glitter rock, I guess you would call it, because I know that
yeah.
she used to go to Rodney's English disco, and she used to tell me about how she'd follow her and her friend would follow Rodney and Kim Fowley
Oh, control.
around,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
would
yeah.
follow him, and they would go. The Kim Valley and Rodney would go to like Catholic girls' schools and just stare like outside, like look at the girls through the fence, and they would just like
Yeah.
would follow them around all day.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
so we would hear about this stuff when. So later on, when I worked in Vinyl Fetish, and Kim Valley would come in, I would just like I would just think about that. What a creep.
What a creep.
He had some woman on like a leash, and he goes, this is my new bitch." I'm like, "Oh yeah, all right, Kim."
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
Mhm.
There were some girls that Lurch was telling me a story about it. There were some girls that won a contest from K Rock
Mm.
that we went to school with, and they went and went to this concert or whatever it was for K-Rock, and at the end, Rodney Bingenheimer was like, "Hey, let's all go home to my place." And they're
Oh
like
yeah.
two 14-year-old girls, they're like, "What the fuck, dude? What?"
I was nuts.
Yeah, yeah. It's fucking crazy. So, you mentioned some albums that you got first, but what drove you to go buy those albums?
I
What
don't
did
know.
you? Where did
I
you
don't.
hear it? Was there a
I,
friend, or you don't know? Or
well, I think Bobby was still in grade school, and I just started this god awful friggin'. I went to Notre Dame for 2 years before I got kicked out.
okay,
And so I had a friend named Mike Kopnick, and he was into like this band called D-Day. And at that point, I was probably listening to, I think I was into Elvis Costello at that point or something like that. And just because my sister was like had those records, so I kind of heard it through them, and then I heard the Pretenders, and sort of like
okay. So she was starting to play things that were, that changeover period there.
Yeah, and so then I remember I heard. Then I started listening. Someone told me, Mike told me to listen to Rodney on the Rock. So then I heard X, and I'm like, So I remember I borrowed $5 from this guy at school, and I went to Music Plus and I bought that album. And I remember reading the lyrics on the way home on the bus. I'm just like, I can't believe they're saying this shit. And after that, it was like, it was full steam ahead, And at that point, I think I already had the Germs, because I remember it was completely on an aesthetic level. I remember I was at some place in some mall in the valley, I think you lived near it, or you talked about it off Devonshire or something like that. I can't remember the name of the mall, but there was a record store.
Oh,
and
Roundhouse?
I don't know what it was called, but I remember it was in the mall. And
Licorice Pizza, or
Licorice Pizza, probably.
Or Warehouse Records was another one.
Yeah, I know it wasn't Moby Disc, because I used to go there. I remember I stole the Germs white EP there. But as I was looking through the records or whatever, I saw that Blue Circle, and I just thought this was like, it just sort of stuck out in my head, like, well, that's kind of a weird album cover. Oh. And it said the Germs, and I'm like, what? And then I looked at it and I saw Lauren. I'm like, well, that's nice. And then they just didn't look like bands I was used to seeing, so I bought it.
Yeah.
And I just completely fell in love with that record. I mean, that really, for me, was a pivotal moment. And
the guitar
and I still,
playing,
to this day, I still listen to them. Yeah, the guitar playing is fantastic. The lyrics.
Like, I loved Richie Dag. I remember learning that one.
And Lexicon Devil, and Let's Pretend, everything about it. Even the little 10-minute shutdown thing is funny, but it's not my favorite song on the album. But I still listen to it to this day. I love it.
Huh. Wow. So you worked at Vinyl Fetish.
Yeah, that was great. I remember, we used to go there, as kids, so I would get to school, take the bus there, go to Poser, go to Vinyl Fetish.
Yeah.
And I used to be so, freaked out. I remember when 45 Grade put out Black Cross. Tim, Moocher, and my friend Mike, and I forget who else. We drove there, and we all got the single at the same time. And I just remember thinking, I would love to work here. So when I got offered the job, I was over the moon, man. It was just great.
Right. Yeah, I was envy people working in record stores. I always thought, man, these guys. So we would go from we lived in the fucking valley, and we would travel by bus or scoop a ride somehow, and we'd go to Vinyl Fetish, and you just, every time you went there, you always left wanting more. There was never enough in your pocket to handle what was in the store.
Yeah.
And it was always this sort of special treat, because you'd go and that's where a lot of the really great foreign albums would be,
Yeah, it was really the first place you could get import records, that I knew of,
Mm-hmm.
And even at that point, it wasn't even import records that we were buying. At that point, it was just like punk rock records, like local stuff, because I wasn't really into like British bands or whatever. It was because my rationale was, if I can't go see them, why don't what's the point,
Oh, I just expanded in every. I listened to everything, It's like,
at that point, it's funny. I was talking to Dead Rat about this, that it's for such a short period of time, because I don't know, maybe 79, 80 to maybe 82. Mm-hmm. That's not a very long period of time. But it feels like a long time that I was involved in that scene,
Because there was so much you were doing. Like you were constantly going to shows and you were constantly absorbing music, and so much was going on.
And playing music, like we started started a band with Mike and Tim, and then with Dead Rat and Tim, and then Bobby and I continued to do bands, and then later on I had my own. I continued to do that band until I joined that band from New Zealand, the Chills. And
were you in Christian Logic?
Yeah, I was in Christian. The first one was called Blood Colored Year, and so that was Mike, this guy Jeff Anderson, Bobby, and myself. And then
I have a flyer from you guys.
Yeah, the one with Mike at the one time.
This is like I want to say it looks like that, like a guy in a cloak, and then there's like the devil, the pentagram maybe on it or something.
Oh yeah, I think Tim put that one together. That was for Christian Logic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We played it. We did a thing where we made what did we do? We made a cassette of like new wave music, and we went to this place called the Blah Blah Cafe on Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah.
And we said that we were like a new wave band, and so they booked us. So then we, of course, all our friends came to the show, and it was like we just took over the place, and it was so much fun.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that was Christian. Yeah, so
I remember bands doing that. Like they would just like try to get signed to play at a place that was completely inappropriate.
Yeah, there weren't that many places to play, really.
Yeah, and like one of them was, I want to say the Roosevelt Hotel. There's like, so the Roosevelt Hotel is on Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard, yeah.
And it was like a big flyer with all these bands were going to play there, and it was going to be in like the lounge, like this big, beautiful lounge inside the Roosevelt Hotel, and that's where like I think Marilyn Manson.
They used to have the Academy Awards there.
Marilyn Monroe is said to be seen. Her ghost is said to be seen there at night, like in the mirrors. Some like old jazz musician who died there, and you can hear his trumpet playing something. So it's like a haunted,
I suppose.
But we all show up, and it's like we get there early, and it's like me and Lurch, and who knows, a handful of other guys, and they're like sit us down and like, would you like a drink, and we all have like a Coke, but it came in like like a little what are those stovepipe glasses or whatever, the thin little tall, we're like, what the fuck? And we're going, something's wrong, we're like, something is wrong. And they're like, why are you here? And they're like, oh, we're here to see the band. I'm like, oh, okay, and they must have thought, oh, maybe they're in the music business, maybe that's why they look so wild, But then the band came and showed up outside, and it was like, no, that's it, show's canceled.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that. I would have gone to that.
So did you you were at Vinyl Fetish, where there were a lot of, you had a lot of famous people that come and do signings there, and
yeah, the very first we had an in-store. So I don't know if you remember, on the counter they had Polaroids of everyone who had done the in-store.
Yes,
so I remember when you go in and look at that.
I do remember that.
The very first one I did was Susie and the Banshees were there.
Wow.
So that was fun, and then
I have the flyer for that.
That was a madhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the flyer. Oh, actually, no, I have one extra flyer. I think it's for Pooh Bahs, not Vinyl.
Yeah, I know they did them there as well. Yeah. Then we got like what did we do? The Cult, and we had I remember Red Cross played there. That was fun.
Yeah.
And we had I don't know, just tons of bands like the Ramones. There's a picture with me with the Ramones and Bobby loves.
Wow. I mean, it's kind of neat. You were really the main punk store.
Yeah.
In this area, I don't know. I remember. I always tell the story about like Lurch and I were driving down Ventura Boulevard. We were going to go see Motorhead and Merciful Fate play at the Hollywood Palladium, and we're driving up Ventura Boulevard. We figured out we'll go early, get into the city, maybe I don't know, get something to eat or whatever, And we're driving up the boulevard, and we look as we get up to Moby Disk on Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah.
Lemmy is sitting in an electric chair in front of the store. There's a table in front of him, and then all the other members are sitting in chairs behind that table, and they're autographing that leather album. They had an album that came out, and it was actually the cover was made of leather. It was like it was like one of those special edition things, and I'm like, holy shit, right? And I pull over, and Lurch actually went in and bought that leather album. I remember, and having Lemmy sign it, and I just walked up, and I walked up behind him with a piece of notebook paper, and all the members signed it, and I still have it, man. I have it in my collection of shit, you know. But it's cool. It's got all the original members' signatures on it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then later that night, that was supposedly one of like the second or third loudest concerts in history or something. They broke
Really?
they broke the plaster and
Wow.
the roof and this and that. Yeah, the Palladium had damage, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good place. I like that place.
I couldn't hear for 3 fucking days, man.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Wow.
It was crazy. Anyways, so you know, rolling around the scene, you know, like you kind of knew everybody from different gangs, or
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
you knew
that
Tim,
sort of
and he was in
started
FF.
around me,
I mean,
obviously,
you knew Tim, obviously, so he was in FFF. You knew
yeah,
people
and then I knew people from Burbank. Also, was called BPO.
BPO.
Yeah,
Mhm.
BPO.
Mhm.
I knew guys from Venice White Boys, and I knew guys from the Lads, obviously, like Alex and you, and
Mhm.
but not really like I was more like really just in the music stuff. So Tim would talk about that stuff, and then the guy Ranger got involved, and
Yeah.
that was just kind of like nuts, and
Mhm.
so that wasn't really like my.
It was never your
sort of-
scene. You were
not
into the
my
music
scene,
and
really,
stuff.
yeah. You know,
But I
was
mean,
friendly
you'd
with-
see all
friendly
that
with those
shit.
guys, yeah.
You'd
I
see
saw
all
them
that shit
happening.
going down when you'd go to shows, though, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. And I would like see like and then shit like they would throw down, obviously and shit would happen.
Yeah.
But I just just kind of at that point also a lot of people that initially all the people I knew were like really creative and really sort of interesting,
Mhm.
and then there's this sort of contingency of like knuckleheads.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, like you were considered arty farty in the sense that like you were into the art and the music and the style and the fashion and the whole scene of that, and then you're right, knuckleheads started showing up because they'd see it on the news. They do an expose on punk rock and show you, oh, this is what goes on in the pits, and they slam dance, and then those guys go like, oh, this is bitching, I gotta go fucking, because they're psychotic anyways. So they're like, oh, I can go and thrash people, and then like nothing happens. You mean like it's just that's expected,
Yeah.
And a lot of times, what would happen? You'd see guys like
they would
you'd see our crew,
yeah.
you'd see our crew move in and jack them up. Be like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Well, that part of it I appreciated with the gangsters. They would do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They deserved it. Like people would.
Well, that was the early
shows.
That was kind of our early formation. Was much more that.
Yeah.
Beside, wasn't so much cutting it up with each other. People all think like, oh, FFF brawled with Lads and Lads brawled with FFF, and then it was shit, La Mirada, and all these different. We didn't like, they were like kind of cool with me. I remember hanging out with everybody. Now there were people in our clubs that would have beef with other people's in those other clubs and have like get into a beef with each other one-on-one, but not the club, because I remember like Oliver, I think, went down and they had a brawl with like one of the guys from FFF, was like one of their biggest dudes at the time, and they just went at it, and they just shook hands at the end and were friends.
Oliver, I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
Remember, he kicked the shit out of this guy that was a friend of mine named John. Just beat the shit out of John.
Oh, really?
And then John immediately became a mod.
No shit.
Fuck.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard of misdirected things where like just people that were friends of mine that I knew were going to a show and and then fucking people that like were in the Lads that because the group got so big. Like, they didn't know my friends, and all of a sudden, boom, they're bopping some of my friends, and I'm like, hey, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then they get all pissed, It was like, I think the singer of Wasted Youth, Scranny, I think that was something that happened to him.
Yeah.
And I was friendly with him. I knew him, man.
Great, yeah.
I knew, Lurch and I met him because we went to the movie theater in Westwood, and we're throwing gumdrops over the railing, And at the end, like we looked over to see who we were nailing and stuff, and we see this guy looking up at us with a girl and another guy, but they kind of looked like they were college kids or something, you know. But the one guy had bleached hair, and I was like, oh, you know, and he looked up at us. And we went to Godzilla's like the next week or something. And we're in line, and fucking Scranny, the same dude, Scranny walks up and goes, hey, you the tits from the theater who were throwing fucking gun dots at us and shit. We're like, oh, is that you?
That's funny.
Oh, jeez, man. So, your band, did you ever play with any big names or anything? Like, people would, you know...
No, those bands were, like, I think, people we would play with, like, bands in the Valley. They're never big... You mean, like, the punk rock bands?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, during
we
the time...
we would do, like, parties at the Valley. Like, we'd play with Resistance and, what were they called? Disability. And then...
Isolation? Those guys, too?
I remember Isolation. I don't remember them. Okay. But then... And then we would... Yeah, we didn't... They were fairly short-lived, and then...
For my sweet 16th birthday party, it was here in the West Valley, or out in the West Valley, and I had 3 bands play. So it was Resistance, Isolation, and the third band was Black Mass. And by the end of the night, people were stage diving off the fucking roof into the swimming pool. 7 cop cars were fucking lined up outside.
Oh, great.
And, you know, it was like fucking no helicopter, thank God, but, you know, and I remember we got everybody finally out of here, and I had to take friends with you know, the car and just drive up and down the block picking up all the liquor bottles and all the, I mean, they got empty cases, man, of just beers, you know, up and down the street on people's lawns and shit, you know, and my mom's like, you got to clean all that shit up before the neighbors have a fucking canary, you know.
I remember one time I had a band. I don't remember which band it was, but we you know, like we were saying, there are very few clubs that will book you. So we rented a rehearsal studio and had, and we just told everyone to come, and it just was mayhem. Like people were spray painting anarchy symbols on and then I don't remember if we got. I think we had to pay extra after that, so they were pissed, but it was fun.
Yeah. What was the because you had kind of went to so many shows, what was the I don't know, what was the craziest club you ever went to? You know, like, man, I remember going to, like, Bards and, like, a couple of times, like, they'd oversell the show, and I was still kind of young and small, and I remember my feet wouldn't even touch the ground because the crowd would drift one way, and then you'd just go with the crowd, and then they'd drift the other way, and you like, man, you were like a prisoner, man.
I'll tell you, one, it wasn't really crazy, but it was, like, one of, like, the most memorable shows I went to was, it was at the... I guess it was the Whiskey, and it was Social Distortion and the Chiefs, and I want to say and the Danger Zone.
China White.
China White. So but everyone was there. All my friends were there. It was just like so everyone at that time, you know, you in your high school or whatever, you would have maybe 2 or 3 people that were punk rock.
Yeah.
And then you would have people that were punk rock at a different high school, but it was not an easy time to be punk rock. You get on the bus, people throw shit at you.
Yeah, I do remember those days.
A litany of Devo, Whip It, you know. Like,
yeah, they always stereotyped you and placed,
exactly.
put, you know, all these labels on you.
Just dumb shit. And but yeah, it was, you know, especially in the school I went to was all guys, so it was just a bunch of assholes, and and it was just, you know, they were just, I would bring my Black Flag record to work, or not to work, to school, and they would, like, you know, try to get it from me and break it. They're like, what is that shit? And like, so anyway, but that night, it was just like this real sense of, like, that you were part of a community of people. And so
I think I was
really
at
great.
that show. I was at all of those shows at the Whiskey, because that's, you know, it was one of those great clubs.
But the craziest club I think I went to was, I think we talked about it earlier, it's called Bob's 2, I want to call it, Bob's Place. It was I want to say it was near Watts, or it was really like downtown, somewhere I've never been before. Yeah. And as we drove there, there were people, and there was a bunch of houses leading up to the actual club. And people were on their porches with guns. And I thought, what the fuck is this? And then when we got in, there was, what are they called again? BYO guys.
Youth Brigade.
Youth Brigade were playing, and I don't know who else was playing, but that was another place that just something happened, and it got really really ugly, and then
Yeah.
almost like, yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember like, oh, this is. I think that was one of the last times I'm like, this is. I can't do this. This is too crazy, you know.
Yeah. I remember like
But
Godzilla's like cholos would roll up in their low
oh my
riders
god,
up and
yeah,
down the
yeah,
road, and I remember
yeah, it
like
was
being
crazy.
kind of sketched out by that. But then like something happened to those guys, man. Like a bunch of punkers attacked them one night, and next thing you know, like
Wow.
they weren't rolling around so much anymore, and then the crime rate went down in the area
Do
supposedly.
you remember the night that I don't know what Dead Rat was there? He was on acid,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was. I think I had gone with him, and then there was these like Christians,
Oh,
like born again Christians, and they kidnapped him, or they got him to go to some house, and we're like, where the fuck is Dead Rat? So we found out where they were, and we went and got him. But it's like, what the hell was going
was it
on
the
there?
Christians or the Krishnas?
I think they were Christians. They were like hardcore Christian people
Okay.
that were like, because like this was probably around the time that parents punker shit was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So these
Yeah,
Christians figured they would just go to that club.
yeah.
So
Convert you.
like, proselytize or convert you, get you out of the satanic, I didn't be Christian. That might have been playing. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, one of my friends, the same thing kind of happened. He was on acid, wandering around the tracks, I think, off of from Godzilla,
Yeah,
and
that's
got
exactly where it was. Yeah.
and like some Krishna family group picked out. He was gone for 30 days or
Oh
something,
wow,
man.
Jesus. Yeah, no, that was
Yeah,
few
it's
hours.
like just went on this like thing for like 30 days with these Hare Krishna people, man.
I remember Godzilla's was such a great club. But I remember when The Damned played and they charged, I think it was like $5, and
Yeah.
I was outraged. Like, I was going to charge that much money. I mean, now you can't go see a band for like less than 100. It seems like,
Dude, it's like leasing a car, man. I don't want to
I know,
fucking lease a car. I want to go to
Mortgage
the
house.
show.
That's the great thing about the Final Fetish. We used to sell tickets for all the shows, so through Golden Voice, so I would get free tickets, and at that point, like if it was a punk rock band, I would just give them to my friends or whatever,
Sweet.
But I got used to like not paying for shows,
Yeah.
so now when I have to, I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah. I mean, man, if it's outrageous, outrageous, no. And I don't really want to go to a show like that anyways, I guess, in the long run. It's like $30, $35 for a show.
Yeah,
I think that's
crazy.
enough, I mean, shit, man. But I do, because nowadays we don't really. Do you buy a CD? You buy an album? No, you just kind of get it online.
Yeah, digitally,
So
yeah.
whenever I go, I always buy something. Like I buy a shirt, I buy a pen.
Well, that's the only way to make any money, merch. Yeah.
That's what I keep hearing. So that's where I give it back. Cause like, man, I went to go see like the Viagra Boys. I bought a shirt. I don't know, maybe it's $25, $28. It's like I'd already been listening to them for 4 years online and never cost me a dime. So it's like, dude,
Yeah.
How are they making money? I know they're making money some way or another, but yeah, it's just one of those things I try to do when I do go out.
Yeah.
But
That's good.
But how often? Now I'm fucking old as shit. It's I don't go out that
Like I was
often anyways.
telling you earlier, my friend Marla, who just put out that book of My Punk Rock Life, she's a photographer.
Yes.
Like her and Mouse, Mouse helped her with it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been getting me to go see like local bands, I normally wouldn't know anything about, but some of them are just fantastic. Like it's nice to see that level of energy.
Yeah.
And how into it the kids are, and the kind of kids that are there
Yep.
are just like it's not like a homogenous or like they're all wearing boots and chains and shit like that.
No, it's much more homogenous.
Yeah. It's just nice, and so it's still alive and kicking. So
I went
that's
with
good.
I went with Kenny Anonymous and Becca to watch their son play in his band down at the Redwood Bar here in LA.
Oh yeah, I've played it before. Yeah.
We had dinner, dinner and weed, and but it was cool, man. It was like a couple bands played, and it was nice.
That's a cool place. That's kind of like piratey, right?
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
kind of a pirate.
There's like a
thing.
little patio in front where you can eat and stuff.
Yeah, they put this whole big thing out there. It's much more advanced now. I guess it probably started during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But now you can go out there. You can even bring your drink out there, have your smoke, and shit like that, which is bitchin'.
Yeah.
And they don't mind if you smoke some weed, so that's kind of cool.
Remember when I first moved back to LA for a little bit? well, I lived actually several years. I worked at the Echoplex and and Spaceland, not Spaceland, the Echo. So I
Okay.
would do the door there, and
Yeah.
so I got to see I saw the Flesh Eaters play there. That was great. And then
Yeah.
they did that downstairs at Echoplex. They had that Frontier Night when all those bands played.
Oh, you mean Frontier Records?
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
it was great. Yeah, it was really good.
Huh. Wow.
Because I really loved what's his name, the guy from Christian, who was in Christian Death in the Adolescence, Rick Agnew. Love his guitar playing. Yeah,
Right?
he's a great guitar player.
And he was
Yeah,
in a shit ton of bands too. He was in a bunch of other
Yeah.
bands. Which I always forget all the different names of the bands. But yeah. You know, I was bringing it up. It's like we inhabited the same place as the musicians in those days.
Yeah.
You know, like they would play and then he'd come out into the audience and just hang out.
Yeah, then watch the next
They'd
band.
be in the audience and you'd say, so when do you got, oh, in 2 more and we're up, you know, like, like it was, you were able to have this connection with everybody in those bands. I remember just, I'd see guys from Black Flag and we'd give each other the nod, like you know each other well enough. Hey, how's it going? Right? Like, yeah, how you doing today? Right? And it now it's like those kids. That's what those kids don't see, because I was talking to other people and interviewing other people. There's that separation. So the band goes back, they do their shit, they stay back there. They don't come out front. You don't go back there unless you fucking have an in somehow.
Yeah.
And it's
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Because those dudes were just
Especially
there.
working at Vinyl Fetish, also like the guys from Black Flag would come in, like Chuck would come in all the time, and he's just such a nice guy. And then and then bands would come and put their records on consignment, and so you would get to know these. It was the same thing, and even like later on in the like in the early '90s, bands were like that. Especially like all those bands that were playing at Spaceland and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Courtney Love used to come in and she asked me if she should get a nose job. And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
She's like, yeah. I was like, no, I told her she picked the guy in Teamless Jezebel and she got all freaked out. Said she should get a nose job.
How much can you afford? I'll give you a nose job.
Exactly. Just shave a little off here. Yeah, she was crazy. I don't think that people, although like the couple shows that I've been to recently, it seems that way.
If they're smaller, you're talking, the bare bones.
This is a tiny little place,
Yeah, like when we went and saw Kenny Anonymous's son play. Like, they just walked up. They're there and they're mingling because it's a small bar. It's what I'm talking about is if you went to go see the Misfits, you're gonna pay $400 to go to the fucking forum. $400 to go to the fucking forum. And then he ain't coming out to talk to you, man. You ain't going back there to talk to him. And
he's not looking good
either. Or any of those, where they're larger. If you go to the Palladium, that's not happening. If you go to, I guess any of the 1,000 plus, when you're in the 100 numbers, maybe.
Yeah.
But when you're in the thousands, it's different.
Yeah. They may come out to the merch table, maybe.
Yeah, once or twice I've seen people, from the band, like, you go out to the merch table and all of a sudden, oh, hey, you guys are here.
Yeah.
But they're behind a table, too. They ain't, like, hanging there having a
Yeah.
beer with you. Shit,
Exactly.
Black Flag would walk out and they were like, here, have a beer.
Or snorting, speed off each other's hands. I remember in front of the whiskey, I think Black Beauties. So Tim, I've been Moocher or whatever, he opened up the little, I think it was like just, everyone was like putting powder on their hands and snorting in front row while the band was playing.
Right. I remember one time the Vandals played at Devonshire Downs and they came out with cases of generic beer. I forget the grocery store. I don't know, it was some grocery chain and they just produced beer and it was a white can and it just said beer in blue or something.
Exactly what you're talking about,
And they were just handing them out into the crowd of juvenile delinquents. I'm like, wow, no liability there, pal. You're good.
Blatant disregard of the law.
Right? Unbelievable.
But at that time, like everyone had a liquor store they could go to that would sell to them. And, they just didn't even charge you.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I remember seeing Fear play at the at Devonshire Downs, and I remember just looking down because I was up at the front, and I remember looking down at Leaving's boots, and they were taped together with duct tape.
Why? I see.
Like they were so broken down, like
I got you. Yeah.
Like he had them taped together with duct tape.
Rode hard and put away wet.
And I thought to myself, man, that's fucking hardcore.
Yeah. I saw Black Flag there. I saw the Bad Brains there.
Yeah, right, dude.
That was a good place.
I remember seeing wasn't it Black Flag and Bad Brains the same night?
Did they play together? I
think they did, dude.
Yeah.
That was so. Yeah. Here's what I remember. Fucking Bad Brains opened. They were bad as hell, and I remember like they would have the fastest fucking songs.
Yeah.
But then they would break them up with those reggae. They'd break them up with their reggae tunes, and then everybody would slow slam. And then they hit a hard song, and it's so contrasted, it's like, oh, and it would go fucking berserk, and he'd be doing backflips.
Yeah, I remember him just like going crazy on stage.
And then it was like Rollins came out with Black Flag at Devonshire, and I remember he had the Black Flag tattoo, and he came out all like showing his Black Flag tattoo to the crowd. What was that?
Not my favorite lineup. The Henry Rollins Black Flag is not my favorite lineup.
I like the Chavo.
Me too, Chavo Pederast. That's the best.
Right? Yeah, like that. Jealous Again.
That's and it's just fantastic. That's my favorite. Yeah.
It is. It's rad.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
And Keith's stuff is good too, but it's I heard Circle Jerks.
Rivers Breakdown's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually heard Jealous Again before I heard Keith ever singing for Black Flag, so I had heard Circle Jerks and was already loving them. Mm-hmm. So then hearing Black Flag, later they started to release shit, like on CD and stuff, and I remember getting all that stuff, with Keith singing, and I was like, this is fucking badass, But who else I liked singing too was Dez.
Yeah,
like when the Six Pack.
It was just Henry Rollins I didn't like, was not my thing.
Yeah, well, I think it just he metamorphed into something that later on.
I remember
with the long hair
all those discard records. People like Tim was really fascinated with that sort of straight edge scene.
Yeah,
so he would talk about those bands, and so
I liked SOA. So SOA was
I liked SOA too. Yeah,
that was Rollins' band before.
Yeah, I didn't mind that at all. Right. It was just when him and Black Flag, it just rubbed me the wrong way for some reason. Yeah.
Well, I just know everybody talks about the long hair situation.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
They're like, hey, what are you doing, man? What's going on?
But then again, I used to love Twisted Roots, and they had long hair. Remember?
Yeah.
I talked to someone told me that I think it was Lauren actually. Lauren Israel told me that we called him up, and he said that he had seen them play, and that Pat was in the band. So I'm like, oh, so I did just go to the bus because they were playing at the Whiskey once again. So at that time, you could go early during sound check, and you would sneak in, and you would just stay. And I think they were playing with Frank. So, but I remember looking
you remember, those hippies on Frank, stage. Like the chick, right?
Yeah. Frank, the Jewish lesbian.
Yeah, I really. Yeah, there's a documentary or something I saw online, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
But I remember they were setting up, and I thought, well, there's all these guys with dreadlocks. Who are these hippies? And then I saw Packett on stage, and then they started playing. I didn't realize it was Paul Rossler from the Screamers.
Yeah.
And then his sister and Pat and then Maggie Eric, and I went to school with her brother.
Pat Smear, is that who you're talking about? Pat Smear?
Pat Smear, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. They had the hair. Yes.
He had that crazy.
Came down the front and shit. It was all dreads. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was wild.
That was that whole Venice. All those people from Venice always had the dreads, and but they were punk rock, and so we had to deal with it.
Funny. So, at what point does punk rock break off for you and sort of?
I started listening to once I started working in Vital Fetish, I was also at that point I was already listening to Echo and the Bunnymen and Cheered Up Explodes, and just different like British bands and stuff like, and got really into Joy Division. But still it was still like listening to UXA, the Germs. I still like those bands.
Yeah.
But those bands weren't around to see anymore. And then like I said before, it got progressively more sort of. I don't know, like the culture changed around like what I was used to it being, and it just seemed a little bit too intense, and I just was like not into it. And but there's a part of me like I was talking to Dead Rat about this because like one of you had said something, you had asked me like one of the questions you had sent me about how did it prepare me for civilian life? How did punk rock prepare me?
Yeah.
And in a way, I don't think I ever stopped feeling that way. It's just like this sort of sense of everything is absurd.
Yeah.
And
so you've lived in your own autonomous punk rock world.
Yeah. But I bring it's also this a sense of like kind of to laugh, and not a sense of distrust, but like a laughable sort of distrust.
Yeah.
That I see shit and like even the stuff that's on the news right now, like it's infuriating. But it's just another circus, and we've seen punk rock was just one big circus that we all went to, and I sort of still feel.
Well,
like
I mean that was I always kind of had that was like we were a result of mocking the system.
Well, I think because we grew up watching Watergate, so we like
right?
immediately like something is wrong, and they interrupted our cartoons and
right.
So,
bingo.
yeah, exactly.
Something's wrong here.
Exactly. So yeah, I still inside feel the same way, but it's just I didn't feel the same sort of camaraderie, I guess, or the same sort of like I almost the people I still talk, like I'm talking to you, I talk to Dead Red almost every day, talk to just different people that were punk rock. Most of my friends were, although I don't know if you found this, but a lot of people that were punk rock when I was punk rock have become very conservative. I don't
understand that.
I don't get it. How can you have been punk rock and be conservative?
I just don't think they heard the message to begin with.
Yeah, I guess,
I don't think, well, and also, too, like, if you look back at what they were doing probably back in the day, you'll realize, they were kind of sketchy and psychopathic anyways.
Yeah, but some of them weren't like that. Some of them were just like, I don't get it, man.
See, I talk about, like, rolling around with the gang and shit, and then there's a period where people grow up and they move on. And one of the reasons is like it's super super duper fun when you're 14 and you have a psychotic friend who's really stuck in psychopathy because he's gonna fucking turn you on to shit like you ain't never seen, and you're gonna get in fights and you're gonna have fun and there's gonna be drinking and you're gonna fuck shit up and but then when you're older you're gonna get fucking arrested and fucking tossed by the police and beat by sticks.
Yeah, you have a sense of like what could happen.
Right.
You never think twice. I remember like we were driving down to Tim's birthday party which Circle One was going to play like I want to say it like at an Elks Lodge or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we filled up. It was St. Patrick's Day. It was close to St. Patrick's Day, and we filled up a fire extinguisher with green water. And we were just driving down Ventura Boulevard, spraying people randomly, and then the cops pulled us over, as they should. And I don't know what the fuck we were thinking, but that's the kind of stuff you do when you're a kid.
It's funny though. Like I'm lucky and you're lucky. I used to always get caught for shit like that.
Yeah.
I get caught for we'd steal a fire extinguisher and then, but like the powdered one, we had the kind that you pressured with, we'd shoot people with the water too, but we had stolen a bunch and it was just the powder. And we're leaving a party one night and we're ripping down the road and I put the thing out the window and just shot it, as a cop car's going the other way. And the driver, I was in the passenger seat, he just pulls over. I'm like, oh, fuck this shit.
See, like I said, I was always like Piper got aware of shit like that because my dad was a cop. And I was like, I cannot get busted, And like I think I know Tim, when you interviewed Moocher, he was talking about one night when Fear played and the guy got stabbed at the Starwood, and Bobby, my younger brother, he wore my dad's. I was going to go and I was going to wear my dad's sheriff jacket.
Okay.
And it was like he was retired, and but then I ended up not going because I had to do something, homework shit or something. And Bobby wore the jacket. And somewhere during the night, the guy that gave him a ride, they switched jackets. And then the guy got stabbed. Then the cop showed up, and then the guy was. I think they wanted to arrest him, or they did arrest him for impersonating a cop. So yeah.
The dude that stabbed that guy backstage came down that staircase and jumped off the stage.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
And then they wouldn't let us out. They only had one door, and then they one by one you went out.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah,
that's how they probably saw the jacket. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had only one door by the park. Where the gated area was. I think it was going out that way. And they were just letting us out one by one, and there was security guys that I think were backstage that witnessed it were there with the police, and saying, oh, this one or that one or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like I said, I was always petrified that my dad was going to get busted for something, And
I wouldn't want to dude, you get arrested, you're waiting to get picked up, and he shows up and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was not good.
Plus, plus, the thing is, he's gonna go back to work, and his friends are gonna rouse him about it. So he's gonna come back to you, and he's gonna rouse you about it.
Well, at that point, he was it would have a completely different department, but he would have been able to get us out of it. But I would still get it. Would be I remember when Bobby got busted for going out that night. I was the one who got in trouble because they said I made him punk rock. So it was just ridiculous. I said I didn't do a fucking thing.
You led him to this life of ill repute.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, listen. Later on, they were very happy with the money he was making in Bad Religion.
So sometimes, what I also mean in the civilian life is you probably, you had the job at Vinyl Fetish, which was a kick in the pants. That's a fucking fun. Hey, I'm going to work today. Yay!
That's a fun job,
right? Where you get into civilian life and now you get a job and you're like, oh fuck, I gotta go do that again. Yay.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean that really if I hadn't been punk rock, I never would have gotten that job. So, and it was it was the something I couldn't believe was happening.
Yeah. So as you go on to other careers, I mean, how do you do it?
I think I found that I was thinking about this because I work with adults with disabilities, and and I used to work with kids as a behavioral therapist. Something about punk rock is sort of always championing the underdog. Yeah. And that's the way I feel I've always sort of you're there to defend someone who's different.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm sure it has some. There's an aspect of that in why I do what I do, and that relates back to punk rock.
Yeah. No, I again, punk rock was obviously a different experience for different people, but
I
guess it comes. I think it comes from when you came into it. Mm-hmm. If you showed up a little later, those JCLs, the Johnny Come Latelys. Mm-hmm. They came in with a different, aggression. They came in with the everybody wears a leather with spikes, and everybody has
a uniform. Yeah.
Everybody has, everybody has spiked hair, and everybody has this, and everybody, and it wasn't that when I started at all.
No, now you can go to Target and buy a Ramon shirt. That was not the way it was.
I was telling somebody in another interview, I went to Walmart and I heard freaking the Ramones, Blitzkrieg Bop. I mean, I'm like, wait a minute, man. I'm in the middle of Walmart, man, and playing, I'm just like, what's it going to be next? The KKK took my girlfriend away? Is that what, right?
Oh, man.
So, are there any, what are you working on? Are you in a band now?
People are trying to get me to record again. After I told you, I joined a band from New Zealand, so this band called The Chills, which is a very popular band out there, and they were signed to Slash, so they also relates back to punk rock. So I was happy to be on the Slash. And then I stopped playing music for a long time. Then when I was back in LA, a friend of mine got me to play guitar in his band, The Black Watch. That's where I played at the Redwood. So played, and then when I got up here, I wasn't playing music, but I've been playing it more now. And a friend of mine who I knew from LA, he sent up a bunch of stuff for me to record. He sent up he bought a monitor and a Mac, mini Mac, and a microphone and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this. I'll record on my cell phone. So after this, I'm supposed to FaceTime with him, so he can just sort of walk me through how to do it. But people keep wanting me to play music, so why not?
Just as long as you like doing it and you can do it, do it. You know.
Absolutely.
A lot of people take up hobbies that, as they get older, man, they just can't fucking do it. Yeah. Les Paul played all the way to the day he died or something. I mean, I don't know if he had a guitar in the hospital bed with him or not, but you know, he was doing shows in his you know, very old there.
Yeah, I wish Bobby would play. Like, that's like the sort of stamina it takes for Bobby to do what Bobby does. Because I don't know if you ever saw him in Bad Religion, but like it'd be 2 hours of that propulsive. Like he was just a maniac. You know, I don't know how he did it. And
he was playing drums for them.
Yeah, he played drums for them.
Yeah, okay.
For several years. Yeah. He he stopped playing because his rotor cuff. I guess it's called a rotor cuff on his arm. It's just, but he still plays. Like he'll post videos of himself playing, but he doesn't want to be in a band for some reason.
Man, I went to
it's too bad.
I went to a music party one night, you know, with like all these people that are like industry guys and studio guys, and they're the type of guys that like Madonna picks them up and they play guitar for, you know, a year behind her and shit like that. And like 3 dudes walked into the party and each one of them was a drummer and each one of them was wearing a boot because of being on tour and that what it like, you know, repetitive motion shit. So they were walking in a boot, you know, to keep it still so that they can keep playing and keep in the business. It's like,
yeah, that is like the last instrument I would want to play.
Yeah, that's I just was shocked, but yeah. But anyways, all right, so that's pretty much it. I mean, unless you got something else crazy to tell me. I mean, no,
that's not a lot of crazy.
I think it was pretty interesting, anyways. I mean, do you
remember Hotel Hollywood? It was across from, like, I guess where the El Capitan is now.
Yeah, where everybody would go and dope up and just crash out and
just like investigating in there, and like all these punks were living in there, and that was a crazy ass place. Yeah, but
I remember going. I remember like we would go to the cafe, and I remember we walked there.
I love the cafe. That was great.
I remember we were like, oh, we got to go and see if so, because you're like, hey, are they coming or not? You know, like go over there, and it just, I don't know. Every time I went into someone's apartment there, it felt like, hey, were you guys just robbed or like what's going on? You know. It always looked kind of, look, you know, it's funny, like, they talk about the Chelsea Hotel, and I don't know if that is the same equivalent, because, you know, I don't know, you know, but it was a rundown hotel, and it's
way more rundown,
it was like really rundown there, and it's
it was decrepit. Like, I couldn't even believe people would live in there. So I don't know why we even went in there. We just took roaming around like people moving around like zombies, you know. Just loaded out, you know.
There were people, I remember people going there to score.
Yeah.
You know, because there were dope dealers lived in there, you know. And, you know, it was sketchy. I remember walking down the hall, and, you know, it was like people just like, you know, like people walking, bouncing off the wall and shit.
Yeah, it was like walking into like one of those documentaries where it's like an insane asylum from the 40s or something.
There you go.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, you know what? It probably was full of a lot of Section 8ers.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the people, like, they didn't know why you were there, but then there would be punk rock people there, and no one even seemed to give a shit. Like, they were so drugged up that they didn't care. Like, that was nuts.
Yeah,
that was a good place.
That place,
good times.
You know, that place, and then also the place, there was a place, I think it was behind Seven Seas, and it was where all the dudes from Circle One were living.
Oh, it's called the Wig Factory. Shit. It was on, that was a great new place.
I remember going up there.
I went there a couple times,
Yeah, I remember going up there. That was sketchy.
I didn't like it. Yeah, that was.
I remember just like walking in there, you know, like
it was on La Brea, it was something more closer to A&M Records.
There was all this shit going on the front door. When you went in, it was like, oh, what's going on? Fucking, you know, I'm gonna walk through this now. Like, who are all these fucking people?
Yeah,
you know,
it looked like a storefront that they lived in. It was just a weird place.
Sketchy.
I guess it was a wig factory. That's why it was called the Wig Factory.
Bingo, you know, I mean, shit,
I was
man.
going to bring that up. I was wondering if you had gone there, I don't know why we would go there, but we went there.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Godzilla's was a fucking bowling alley. I mean, fucking, we certainly multi-purposed fucking things, you know? Like, what was the Ukrainian Culture Center? That's another one.
Ukrainian Culture. I passed out in front of that place once.
Fucking huge riot there. I remember there's a photograph, I think, of it from back in the day. And we came out because they oversold it. Another one. Fire department came and closed it. And it was like exploited, maybe.
I saw TSOL there. I don't know when there was a riot there, but
I want to say it was exploited, man. And like they were supposed to play, and they shut the show down before they played, and everybody came out, and the cops were lined up with the shields and cracking their
Yeah.
sticks on the fucking shields and shit.
Yeah, that's what it was like at the behind the God's place behind the Seven Seas where there was a riot.
Yeah.
Just you know,
Palladium too. We used to do. They would do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They set up in that parking lot across the street
Mhm.
in front of the big fucking front doors. Those fucking nuts. Those guys are crazy. You know. Again, that's what kind of screwed shit up, and that's why all those shows started dying out, and it just weren't happening because, you know, I always go back to insurance. You know,
Yeah.
someone's paying an insurance premium, and the insurance company's coming down and going, "What are you doing over there?"
Yeah, exactly. Who's playing?
Yeah, wait, what kind of a venue? You're showing what there?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean there's police interact? Oh yeah, we don't. You know, no. So I mean, like
Okay.
Black Flag. I remember what shit they couldn't play anywhere.
Yeah, I know. And that's why the Germs, apparently, that's why it says Germs GI is because they couldn't get booked, so they would just say GI instead of the Germs. Because they've been.
I think I
blackballed from
remember
every club.
reading that. I think it was in Lexicon Devil, maybe they wrote
Yeah.
something about
Mhm.
that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Shit's nuts. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on today.
No problem. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy the show and stuff.
Yeah, it was good. I like it. Like I said, I've just listened to Moochers. Yeah.
You know, I
Give
just
it the
remember
good
all
work.
I remember all the people in the scene and shit, and they were stars of their own show. So I'm kind of trying to make it so that I can get some of those people in and just hear their story, you know.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
I mentioned earlier in another podcast, you know, you start learning about people, things that you didn't really didn't know.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Which I just like fucking learning about people, man. I'm a very inquisitive
Well, I hope you
mind.
learned something today.
Well, I certainly did.
Okay.
It's always good talking to you, man.
You too, sir.
Hang on, I'm just going to disconnect here. And so, guys, thank you for listening today. There will be more to come. Stay tuned. Have a good one.